My name is Holly Tennant, and I have built my 30-year career around agriculture and food. I guess it's easiest probably to describe my degrees, although that's really not for me, that's not the centerpiece. It's the centerpiece is how I live my life. But I did a Bachelor's of Science at McGill University in Human Nutrition with an emphasis on community nutrition. And then I did a Master's of Agriculture, Food Science, and Management at Washington State University. I was working on cider apples mainly for my thesis and economics. It supports my family's food security right now in providing most of what we eat. We have a home garden, an extensive home garden here, and we have chickens, we have hens and a rooster, we have goats, although I haven't tried milking and making goat products yet, but potentially in the future. I look forward to that. I'm big on supporting other local producers, so I have relationships with other farms that are near me. And as much as I can, I try to buy local things. I'm lucky where I live here in Chilliwack, you can really, almost anything I would need to eat is made locally. Some of the programs that I've been involved with that support food security related to MNBC work is this last summer I helped facilitate at the youth eco conference, and we went on a plant identification walk. That is a way for encouraging younger citizens to start to identify the plants around them and feel at home outdoors, looking for things and thinking about those things as food sources. It's the beginning of hopefully some relationships, some lifelong relationships with the things that are growing right here. And it's a baby step because that's not going to right away replace going to the markets or the grocery stores for people. But in the long run, I think that sort of love and activity will direct people towards living their life in a certain way that involves looking to the outdoors for things to eat, as well as looking at the grocery store. Another program that I've done related to MNBC work is, well, it was in our community here in Chilliwack, Métis Association, our charter community. We had partnerships that allowed us to be at the farmers market every, I think it was Sunday that year. And so I hosted that table, and at that table, through a partnership with Vancouver Food Banks and United Way and the downtown Chilliwack community markets, we were able to give out vouchers to families who were food insecure, and they were able to shop at the farmers market. And in that way, they were able to get foods that were more nutritious than they might typically get in another income assistance program, because the farmers were directly there. And so, the families, some of them, a lot of friends of mine and acquaintances in my community, and, just really thrilled to stop by and say hi to me with, baskets and bags overflowing with beautiful produce, local produce. And there were also some meat products there. There was some fish there and other things, like honey and preserves and that sort of thing. And then another thing I was offering there at the market was I was doing monthly, I did a demonstration of Métis cooking. So I would take a recipe from one of our cookbooks and do a demo, and then have enough for people to have, a little bite of that. And it was so awesome. The elders love to come hang out there. We set up extra lawn chairs, and it was very successful. Well, the vision that I have for Métis food security is one where we interdepend on each other. We behave like a band, like a large extended family within our chartered communities. And so what that looks like to me, more specifically, like I held at my community, I think last summer, I did a canning workshop. We did tomatoes, and a lot of people do bring, when we have a get together, they'll bring their like extra zucchinis or squashes from their garden. There's that sharing. But my vision is for that to be another level where the communities have like extra large freezers, and the harvest is shared. Like I personally have, by virtue of the volunteer work I do with the Métis, I have harvesters who share their harvest with me, and I bring it to elders. But the bigger vision to me is having, the Métis communities be a place where people, elders, young families know they can go and get support if they are food insecure, especially like in a COVID type situation or a flood or some type of fire, some type of emergency crisis. That's my vision, is that, there are those ongoing programs, but there's also like a real sense that we're the bigger extended family where we can take care of each other. When I was at McGill University, I had the privilege of studying under a professor named Dr. Harriet Kuhnlein, and she was known worldwide for her food security work, and she was going into Indigenous communities, not just in the Northwest, but all over the world. And she was studying Indigenous diets compared to, well, let's call those, she called them traditional diets, yeah, compared to market diets, let's say. She was establishing what the nutrition outcomes were for people eating traditional diets versus these market diets. And it really is a very large margin of difference how healthy the traditional diets are. That has to do with the quality of fats in the animal products. For example, the quality of protein, the vitamins, the minerals, the types of fibers, and the types of antioxidants in some of the plant products, and the quality of products that are, even just by virtue of the fact of being fresh, and not sitting in storage, not having undergone a long transit, not having been mass produced, in a sense that, in the mass production situations, you're going to get more pesticides, more herbicides to try and keep this produce market ready. And when you remove a lot of those factors, you're getting food that actually brings so much more vitality to the human body. And those are measurable outcomes, and they have been measured. And I'm excited about making those options available to Métis people again. Our ancestors, by virtue of what happened to us in Canada, they were really poor. And so, they made a lot of things that they could pack for a long time, like the bannock and the pemmican and things like that. They had to obviously survive and produce foods with very little. Our ancestors knew how to get by, and they supplemented those foods, like if they were going up north into a trap line or something like that, for a whole winter, they would pack with them tea bags, baking powder for the bannock. They'd pack the flour, some lard likely. Very few things other than that, because everything else would be supplemented with, they would gather the berries, obviously, all the meat would be harvested. Very few up north, very few vegetables, but when they could, the Métis would put in a garden, and have those vegetables. And so I think our ancestors' diet, even when they were poor, probably wasn't enough calories by any stretch. But given that they weren't having a lot of processed foods, high sugar, high calorie, low fiber, low nutrition products, there's probably a good chance that even some of our very poor relations, ancestors, were having a more nutritious diet than a lot of us are today. We can still go back to the past like that and use clues from how they were living. Some of it got passed in our families, and some people didn't have access to that knowledge, but there's great cookbooks now, Métis cookbooks. I love on Facebook the Métis Foodies that's a place to take a lot of inspiration and also celebrate our culture. A lot of that is just it's classics, on Facebook. I think there's a lot of really great opportunities in Métis cuisine, if you want to call it like that, to really embrace our culture and to have more nutritious diets, to celebrate local agriculture, to combat food insecurity, and to show up as a community.